Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my mid-month wrap-up for July. We're almost halfway through July. It is the 15th that I'm filming this. Thank goodness. I am ready for this weather to stop. It is so hot outside. I can't walk my dogs because my poor 10-year-old puppy cannot walk in the heat, and she loves walks. So we are slowly making our way through the hottest month of the year, which hopefully we get better weather soon. But I have read 11 books so far. 2 of them, however, were beta reads, so I am not going to talk about that. A beta read means that I read the manuscript from an author at some point in the writing editing process, and so it's not a finished work, and they were 2 books of authors that I work for, so I am not going to chat about those. They haven't been finished yet. They haven't been published yet, so I did read those though, so they do count towards my reading goal because they were full books that I read. They were both amazing, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the books that I read so far this month. I actually have... Let me grab this. I am pretty happy with what I've read so far this month, and we'll go ahead and get started. I only have 2 5-star reads, but I do have a bunch of 4-star reads. I don't think I had anything actually lower than 4-star, which is actually really good. So I read A Love Beyond the Stars by Jennifer Shipman. This one is a sci-fi romance. I read this as an arc. I read so many arcs this month, and I have so many left to read. There's just 1,000,001 releases in June. So this one is a sci-fi romance where the heroine is a new graduate as a pilot, and she has never like actually flown a real spaceship before because they only do simulations, and she gets placed on this really, I would say, prestigious ship with this hero who is our love interest. He is the captain of the ship. He's about 10 years older than her, and he has all of his staff picked out, and he goes to say hi to everybody when they arrive, and he's like, "Who are you?" And he learns who she is, and he's like, "Absolutely not, get someone else." And so they immediately butt heads, and she's like, "I'm gonna prove myself." And she's been trying to prove herself too because her dad disappeared as a pilot as well, and so we have that kind of mystery floating around. This isn't like super sci-fi. It just really takes place on a ship, and they do get to go to another planet, but like technology wise it doesn't feel super futuristic. It feels kind of like it could take place today if we had space travel like this. But I really loved the dynamic between them where he is her superior and he hates her initially, and then they slowly start to fall for each other and go on little missions together. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4.5 stars. Definitely one of my new favorite books from this author, and I'm excited to see what she can write next. Her lineup for this year looks amazing. She has a demon Prince King romance. That's her novella. That's a more Halloween-y one. That's a follow-up to Spookily Yours. And then we have a Christmas book coming out too. So I'm so excited to see what more this author can do, but I had so much fun reading this. Then I read Meet Your Baker by Ellie Alexander, which I don't think I rated this 5 stars. I think I went with like a 4.5 because it was so good. It was so good. It took me a while to read. I started it during a 24-hour readathon last month and then didn't read it because I had so many other things I had to read, because this is more like a just for fun read, and I don't get to do that often because I always have things to review because I do it to myself. I sign up for too many things, I want to support too many authors, and I get overwhelmed and I can't read backlist stuff. But Samantha from Books with Samantha, this is one of her absolute favorite series. She recently even did this Instagram post about the series, and it is adorable and it is so good, and I feel like, I hope I'm not just like grasping at straws with this romance, but I feel like there's going to be a second chance romance in here between her and a local police officer because they have to work closely together because a body turns up in her mother's bakery. So she used to work on a cruise, got her heart broken, comes back to her small town in Oregon, and it's a very like Shakespeare like acting town, and she helps out with the bakery because she was a, I don't remember if she was a baker or a chef or both on this cruise, but she went into food stuff too. And so the woman who is like most hated in town is murdered, and they're like, well, who didn't want to kill this woman? And so they're going through their different suspects, and it gets a little dangerous. One's kind of like threatening her, and we have a lot with like the actors and a lot with the small town aspect of this, so very cozy. I really enjoyed this one. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I'm really excited to read the rest of the series, and I'm kind of hoping we get more of that romance. Then I read a book I won't shut up about, and that is Killer of Mine by Alexis Grace. This is a debut romance. I did hear from someone, I don't remember if it was on here, that it started on Wattpad, which is probably why it's so bingeable and I'm obsessed. So this is a serial killer's daughter romance. She was raised by a serial killer, and she ended up getting out of that situation, took on a new identity, and is now a police officer, like detective, and she wants to be promoted and work for the FBI. And so her main goal in life is to take down her father, but she hasn't gotten to that point yet, and she is in this like session of this FBI agent, says something that kind of tips him off to her her, and he looks into her, realizes she has a fake identity, arrests her, and realizes who she is. And so he has there's 4 of the FBI agents, I think, because I think there's 4 of them. There might be 5. I don't remember the number of them. It's a Why Choose Romance. So they're all best friends. They all work together. They all live together, and they are on the case of this serial killer. So they ask for her help and can't trust her. She's hiding a lot, and it is so good. It's so addicting. I literally could not put this down. We have spice at like 20%, which I always appreciate in Why Choose, because sometimes they wait until like multiple books into the series to really start any physical stuff, and I'm just like, give it to me, please. And I love that. And so she has a very different relationship with each of the guys, and they're different in the fact that they have like different kind of personalities and different reactions to her being there in their house, and there's a lot of twists and turns with the serial killer aspect. I gave this 5 stars. I loved it. However, it is book 1 in a series, and this is the author's debut, and she did tell me like she still like works a full-time job. When I asked her on Instagram, I was like, I'm so excited. I didn't see anything online about the next book, like is it coming? And she said probably next year. So keep that in mind if you pick this up. Then I listened to The Front Runner by Elsie Silver, and I gave this one 4 stars. More like 4.5. I did really like this. I just feel like I wasn't as obsessed with it as so many people were on Goodreads when I went to look at reviews. This one, our hero is a owner of horses. He has a really bad reputation. People don't really trust him, and the heroine is a vet for the Gold Rush Ranch, which is the series, and they end up making a deal that I think it was like he'll help her with something, and she owes him 3 dates, and so they have to go on dates, and there's a lot of animals in here. They do have to like work together to save this baby horse, a foal, and are really close together a lot. And there was one scene I vividly remember though of him sticking up for her in front of her family, and I really loved that. There's a little bit of fake dating in here, and it was just a fun time, and I really like all the friendships in here. So 4.5 stars for this one. I think that have I listened? No, I've only listened to 2, but I've read one of them twice. I believe A Photo Finish is my favorite still, but I'm excited to read the last 2 of the series to see where they all stand. And I did have to read The CEO Enemy for work with my PR company. I ended up doing a content poll for this one by Jolie Day, I believe is the author's name, and this is definitely more rom-com. It's hate to love. She owns this hotel, and she co-owns it, and the guy who co-owns it with her, he's older and he just really wants to retire, so he sells it to this billionaire, and this billionaire ends up being her new neighbor. And when they first meet, she gets locked out of her apartment in her towel, and she's like, can I climb over your balcony to get to my hotel room? And they don't know each other. They don't know that they're both now working together owning this hotel, and so his end goal is to buy out her shares as well, and she's like, I'm never selling. So the story goes from there. Super fun, cute romance. Definitely very hate to love. I definitely recommend checking this author out. I had a fun time reading it. Then I read The Baller by Lulu Moore. This is where it starts with my arcs. So the next 4 are all arcs that I had to get to this past weekend, and I'm currently reading one in like 2. I think I'm reading 2. Yes. The Baller by Lulu Moore is a baseball romance, but there's not too much baseball in here, and it's with the president's daughter, so that was really fun. The beginning is hilarious. I was like fully invested in the story when I started because she has Secret Service, and the hero had met her at a bookstore and he really liked her, but then he like kind of kept his distance, then saw her again in a bar and wanted to talk to her, and saw these people following her, thought they were like really creepy people and wanted to protect her. They were her trained Secret Service. So you can imagine how that's going to play out, but we have so much of the baseball players and like their friends and them living together, and he is just so smitten with the heroine. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really love the dynamic between them, but I need a little bit more like angst in a romance when it's a guy obsessed, because if she doesn't fight it that hard, they're just happy and in love for like 80% of the book, which is what this one felt like. So it did not get a full 5 stars for me, but I really love the whole like found family aspect with him and his friends. And the heroine did have a situation where she was recorded in an intimate situation with an ex without her knowledge, and it was spread around. So do know that going in, that this heavily deals with that, because she has not let anybody in and does not trust anybody since then, and he really has to work at breaking down her walls to trust him. And I really love that development of it. So like I feel like when I talk about this, it's definitely more like a 4.5, but just know that the romance is really sweet and it's really adorable, and he's just like head over heels in love with her. So 4.5, around there. Then I listened to the audiobook of Mad Love by Willow Astor. I feel like for a lot of these, they start out as like I'm obsessed 5-star reads, and then they kind of just like coast, and the plot is just like cute. So this one is a single dad romance. He's a pro football player. He gets a phone call saying, hey, your son is in the hospital, and he's like, I don't have any children, like, is this a prank? And there's a 2-month-old baby in the hospital whose mother just died in a car accident. That's his baby, and it is his baby. And so he is like horrified that he missed the birth of his son, that he had a son he didn't know, and he offers to let the child's aunt, who has been helping raise him with her sister, come and live with him and the baby so that he can be part of the baby's life, and she agrees, and it's their romance. So we have like dead sister's ex, which is like one of my absolute favorite tropes. So I was loving the first 50% of this, but then it turned into just like very cute. She's worried about now being like in a relationship with someone who's so high profile and in the spotlight and what people would think of them, and that's really all it dealt with for the second half. So I am giving this one 4 stars. So like, again, just like The Baller, where like the first half was so good, 5 stars, I was loving it, and then it just kind of like coasted, and I was like, oh, this is nice. So it stayed a 4-star read for me through the end. I had so much fun reading it, and I'm excited for the rest of them because this also kind of had found family with all of the football players, and I love that, and they're gonna get stories. Then I read Donna Flames by Tessa Hale. I listened to the audiobook of this. This one comes out on Friday, and I gave this one 5 stars. This is book 3 in the Dragons of Ember Hollow series, where we have our main character. She is a dragon shifter, but at the beginning of the series she didn't know magic even existed. Her parents were murdered when she was young, so she grew up in the foster care system, and she goes to this college, and this guy smells her, and he's like, you're important, and she's like, what are you talking about? And so it's a why choose romance with 5 guys. We have 5 heroes who are all dragon shifters, and she is constantly in danger because people want her, and we don't know why. We don't know why she's important. We don't know why she's different, and we do figure out in this book, and we definitely have so much development between her and all of the heroes, because we have 2 specifically that have been resisting their bond. She's mated with a couple of them by book 3, but not all of them, and obviously like we're gonna get an HEA with all of them, so we know how they all become, you know, in a relationship together by the end, and I loved it. So action-packed, so fast. I literally listened to this in one morning. Like, it's only a 7-hour audio, but I literally listened to it straight through on Sunday morning while I was doing a puzzle and like laundry and like dishes. I loved it. Please read the series if you haven't yet. And the last one I read is Walk Off Wedding by Maren Moore. I'm giving this one 4 stars as well, which is very similar to the other ones, where the beginning felt so nostalgic, and it's a Cinderella story retelling, not just Cinderella, but the movie Cinderella story. So she is basically like a diner girl, but she goes by Art Girl, and the hero is a baseball player, and they meet in an online forum and they start chatting, and then she decides to stop talking to him, and 9 months later they meet, and he finds her sketchbook, and he realizes it's her because she had shared some art with him when they were talking online, and so he puts flyers all around the campus to try to find her, and it's actually a marriage of convenience because she has this bakery instead of a diner in the movie, and her horrible stepfather wants her to marry someone in order to save the bakery, and so she learns the truth about like what her mother had left her, and realizes if she marries, she can inherit the bakery herself, and she can marry anyone, not this really creepy guy her dad wants her to marry. So the hero offers to marry her, and it's super cute. Like, the beginning, again, I was super invested. I was like, this is so fun, so nostalgic, like one of my favorite movies. I love how they're getting to know each other and they get married, and then we just kind of like coast. We're just like, this is a really cute romance. She's a virgin, and she doesn't know if he really like wants to date her to get to know her, or just for the facade of being married, because he also is getting a sponsorship where they think he's just a playboy, so he's got to have like a better image. And so it's cute. I really liked it. I do wish we had more baseball though, because this whole series is basically like marketed as a baseball romance series, but the 2 books I've read, there's really not that much baseball in them at all, so I would really love more baseball to them since they are baseball players, but super nostalgic and cute. So if you want a really sweet new adult series, I would definitely check this out. I had a lot of fun reading this, so I'm giving it 4 stars. Those are the 9 books that I read, plus 2 that I read for work that I have read so far in the month of July. Let me know what you've read so far, and if you've read these books and what your thoughts are. I would love to hear, and let me know what you're looking forward to in the second half of the month, because I have so much to read. It is insane. But that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye.